Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. We're still discussing the bab of the miracles of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And here the author has started with some of the miracles that happened in the time of the Battle of Badr. We did discuss some already. It's just something from the previous hadith, how to get the translation correct. Remember that one? وعن ابن عباس أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال وهي في قبة يوم بدر while he was in the interior of Badr. اللهم أنشدك أهدك ووعدك. Right, the correct way to translate that is Allahumma, oh Allah, I seek your ahdaka, your amnesty. Right, just remember that I never translated like this last time. Oh Allah, I seek your amnesty. Right, anshuduka ahdaka wa wa'daka, and I seek the fulfillment of your promise. You got it? Just go back. You found it? Allahumma anshuduka ahdaka wa wa'daka. So this is how you translate it, or this is the understood I seek your amnesty wa wa'daka, and the fulfill, because you, Allah, you promised us that you will assist the believers, etc., etc. So this is what I'm seeking. Are you with me? You got the right page? Just check this question in the right page. Turn back to that one. Maybe you see anshuduka ahdaka wa wa'daka. Right page, no? Okay. Right. You got it, Luqman? Anshuduka ahdaka wa wa'daka. I seek your amnesty. Amnesty means like protection, right? I seek your protection because we are going through very, very difficult times. Wa wa'daka, and the fulfill. Plus, you promise, Ya Allah, that you will assist the believers, right? Okay, so just remember that translation of that for future, inshallah. Okay, then we can start with the next hadith, inshallah. You got fi isri, I got fi asari rajulin. What you got there? Isri. I got asar. Okay, we'll discuss it when carry on. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we're still discussing the miracles that happened and the Battle of Badr, and obviously these miracles will be all be attributed to our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it was his effort and it was um, the dua of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, etc., etc., that brought to fruition all of these miracles. وعنه, also narrating the authority of Ibn Abbas, بينما رجل من المسلمين يومئذ, it was a believer from the Muslims, one of the Sahaba Ikram, يشتد فيه. I got أثري رجل, you got Isri, but I suppose both will be correct. We can do some tahqiq on that later on. Was racing, chasing in the steps of a person, a man from the mushrikeen, in front of him. So he's running behind somebody. So the mushrik was fleeing. إذا سمع ضربة بالصوت, when you hear, literally translated as the sound of the whip. Yeah, I would say the crack of the whip, right? Focal from above. وصوت الفارس, and he heard the voice of the horseman. Farsun, the horse, Faris, the horseman, يقول, and this person was instructing to his horse, أقدم حيزوم, come, move forward, حيزوم. إذ نظر إلى المشرك, and he just heard the sound, the crack of the whip, and the instruction of the horseman to his horse. إذ نظر إلى المشرك أمامه, when he looked at the mushrik in front of him, all of a sudden, خر مستلقيا. خر, to fall. This word also comes a lot in the Quran, comes in the hadith. خر ساجدا, to fall down, right? And he fell مستلقيا. Istalqa, this also comes in the fiqh books a lot. To lay, translated as to lay on your nape. The nape is, the neck is the front of the front of the neck, okay, and the nape is the back. So it means literally to lay on your nape. But in this context, he was laying flat on his back, right? خر مستلقٍ فنظر إليه, and then when he looked at this, this mushrik that was the fallen mushrik, the one who fell down, right? فَنَظَرَ إِلَيْهِ فَإِذَا وَقَدْ خُطِمَ أَنْفُهُ. His nose was battered, وَشُقَّ وَجْهُهُ, and his face was split open, كَدَرَبِ الصَّوْتِ, like, a whip of leather, rawhide leather. It, it pierces the skin, right? كَدَرَبِ الصَّوْتِ, right? فَاخْضَرَّ ذَلِكَ أَجْمَعُ. And then, right, فَاخْضَرَّ ذَلِكَ, then all of that turned, like when it's bruised, sometimes when you are bruised, you hurt, turn like, you can say, greenish, bluish, right? Normally when you're bruised, right, people are fair skinned also. Certain people have very sensitive skin. They bruise very easy. So فَاخْضَرَ ذَلِكَ أَجْمَعُ فَجَاءَ الْأَنصَارِيُّ. So this Sahabi then came, فَحَدَّثَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He explained to Rasul that I was still chasing after this person, and before I could even get to him, then suddenly appears from the heavens, and he's beat this guy with the whip. فقال صدقت ذلك من مدر السماء الثالثة. You are 100% true in your claim of this extraordinary happening, because ذلك من مدر السماء, that is the assistance من مدر السماء الثالثة, from the third sky. فقتلوا يومئذ 70. And the Muslims on that day, with the assistance of the angels, they managed to kill 70 people. وَأَسْرُوا سَبْعِينَ, and they managed to capture, imprison 70. رواه Muslimun, Imam Muslim narrates this. So pretty simple, or pretty obvious, the link. I tell you always, when you are doing the hadith, always try to find what part of the hadith is linked to the chapter heading. And especially when you come to, inshallah, when you do Bukhari Sharif, remember they say fiqhul Bukhari fi tarajimihi. With Imam Bukhari, what you do is his understanding of the hadith would be encapsulated in the chapter heading. You understand what I'm saying? His deduction, what he understands. So whatever fiqh Imam Bukhari extracted from the hadith, he put that in the heading, right? So you need to always look at the link. So or between these, sometimes the link is pretty obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. But here the link is the miracle that happened, right? Ishtadda yashtaddu, I told you to race behind somebody with a speed. Salt, salt, as I told you, means like a what, something which is made out of um it's just something is made out of hide, leather, etc. So this أقدم حيزومه, it could be as a Jibra'il Amin, or any other angel that was spurring on his horse, like how you when you're riding a horse, you spur him on. Ultima, it says when your face splits open. So obviously this whip that this person had was maybe very obvious, came from another realm. So you can imagine how effective, how severe it was. So أخضر أجمع, I told you that wound that came as a result of that beating, it turned greenish, bluish. So interesting thing I want to tell you also, another thing here is this: from this hadith and other hadith, sometimes we see the angels, they assume the form of a human being, right? And also we see sometimes the jinnat, they also assume the form of a human being. So from this hadith and other hadith, we learn when any of these makhluqat also assume the form of a human being, then they only have the capacity of a human being. If a jinn assumes the form of a human being, then he has the capacity of a human being. And here we can see these angels, they assume the form of human beings. So that is why the capacity was of a human being, hence they had to employ the normal means of beating with the whip, etc., etc., etc. Understood that? So this was the barakah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was his miracle. That's why it was included here. And here it's mentioned that the reason why Allah Ta'ala sent these angels was to make thubut, to establish firmly in the heart of the Sahaba Ikram the nubuwwat of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hence, it is included from amongst the miracles of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Read the next hadith. Right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن سعد بن أبي وقاص قال رأيت أي يمين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعن شماله يوم أحد رجلين عليهما ثياب بيض يقاتلان كأشد القتال ما رأيتهما قبل ولا بعد يعني جبرائيل وميكائيل متفق عليه. Interesting riwayat. Narrated authority of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, he said, I saw on the right of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I saw on the left of Ya Rasulullah on the day of Uhud, two people, alayhima, upon them were thiyabun bidun, white clothes, yuqatilani, they were fighting, ka'ashaddil qitali, the most severe fighting. Ma ra'aytuhuma, I did not see them before, wala ba'du, and after, يعني Jibreel and Mikael, right? Muttafaqun alayh, and it's a muttafaq alayh riwayat. Remember the battle of Uhud? For a while, the Sahaba Ikram were under pressure. Nah? Remember, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam stationed some Sahaba Ikram on that mountain. Now, inshallah, when you go for Hajj, you go for Umrah, obviously you go to Medina. And one of the what they close ziyarat is Uhud, very, very close. And right close to the masjid is a mountain there. Although they say that mountain may bygone days it might have been higher, but because of the Kazratu Za'irin, so many people visiting it, it wore down a bit maybe. But you see that mountain where Nabi Sallallahu stationed the Sahaba Ikram, but for some reason or the other, they abandoned their position. And when they abandoned their position, that time Khalid bin Walid was not Muslim as yet, he attacked from the rear. And the result of that, for a moment, the Muslims were under pressure until they retreated. Now, if you go, inshallah, if you go there, that Mullah Abdullah Jina, he does the siyaras, he'll show you everything. He'll even show you the cave to the right. If you're facing this Mount Uhud, and to the right is a cave there where they retreated to, and where the Sahaba Ikram very gallantly defended Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also there was a one Sahabiya, Nusayba. She also very gallantly, right? So when they were under pressure, you can say that Jibreel and Mikael, they assumed the form of a human beings, and they came to assist. I told you, Ashaddi, like the most severe of the fighting, which means, like you can say, was a very, very intense battle, because a lot of the Sahaba Ikram, some were martyred, some were, remember, فَأَنزَلَ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. So yeah, interesting. They say when, like I mentioned to you earlier, when an angel assumes the form of a human being, he has the power of a human being. But other than that, when in his true form, in his real form, then obviously he has no limit to the power. Remember the Qawm Lut, how they were destroyed. The angel just took the tip of his wing and he scooped up the entire earth and he plunged them. That's why you get the Dead Sea there today. And another thing to bear this out also, remember when the angel of death came unannounced, he never followed the proper procedure, protocol, and he came to Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam slapped him till his eye popped out, remember? So that shows you, this proof also, when an angel is in the form of a human, then he only has human power. He has human limitations. Other than that, if would obviously be way more powerful, way more stronger than Musa alayhi salam. Hence they had to fight in this particular manner. Okay, read the next hadith. I got Abdullah ibn Atiq. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن البراء بن عازب قال بعث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رهطا إلى أبي رافع. That once Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم sent a group to Abi Rafi', right? فدخل عليه عبد الله بن عتيق. And Abdullah ibn Atiq, he went to his house ليلا. بيته ليلا, there's a ظرف, ne? وهو نائم, while this person Abu Rafi', he was sleeping. Right, carry on. فقتله, he killed him, managed to kill him. فقال عبد الله ibn Atiq. Abdullah ibn Atiq narrates now what happened. He's explaining what, right? He says, right, I plunged, you can say this in this context, I plunged the sword into his stomach حتى أخذ في ظهره, until it went and it pierced to his back, right? Then I knew now, once I could feel that it's coming out from his back, I knew فعرفت أني قتلته, I killed him. Carry on. So now once I knew now I've completed my mission, I've killed this person. فجعلت أفتح الأبواب حتى انتهيت إلى درجة. I began opening the doors until I came to one level. So maybe his house was multi-leveled, right? Yeah. So literally translate like this. فوضعت رجلي, I placed my foot down, right? فوقعت, and then because it was dark and obviously no lights, everything. فوقعت في ليلة مقمرة, then I fell, right? What? فوقعت في in a moonlit night. Carry on. Right? فانكسرت ساقي, and so my work was done, right? I was sent by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to assassinate him, and now I was retreating, I was coming back, but in the dark I missed, I missed stepped, and the result of that, my shin broke, right? Right, فأصبته بإمامة, so I bandaged it with my turban. Right. Then Alhamdulillah, I managed to come out successfully after assassinating him. فانطلقت إلى أصحابي, I went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. فانتهيت إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then after, first I went to my companions, gave them the good news that I, clinically successfully carried out the mission of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then I went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, carry on. فحدثته, I explained to him what had happened, that Alhamdulillah I carried out your mission, but on my return journey, I misplaced my foot, and as a result of that, I broke my shin, right? So Nabi Sallallahu said, "Ubsut rijlak, spread out your foot." Right. فبسطت رجلي, I spread out my foot. فمسحها, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed his Mubarak hand over, just change the plane, please. He passed his Mubarak hand over my leg, right? فمسحها, right? فكأنما لم أشتكيها قط. And after him placing his hand, as though I had no complaint. In other words, as though my leg, my shin was 100% healed, right? رواه البخاري, Imam Bukhari narrates this particular riwayat. So, okay, this person, Abu Rafi', was a Jew that lived in Medina. Remember, there was a sizable population of Jews in Medina, and I mentioned also before that I read in one of the history books, the reason there was a sizable population of Jews in Medina is because they were traveling through Medina and they saw the description of the place of emergence of the final prophet. And for that reason, their ancestors and their forefathers decided to stay there. So through the passage of time, they lived there. So when Nabi Sallallahu eventually made his emergence, some accepted, some didn't accept. But anyway, this person, Abu Rafi, was a tradesman. So he initially had an agreement with the Muslims, but he broke this agreement. And his main thing was he would constantly bad mouth the Muslims, and in particular, he would bad mouth Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like how how we're speaking about 2 days ago, we're speaking about different battles. One is the physical battle, one is the psychological battle, one is the economical battle, and we speak about the propaganda battle. Like if you see now the war carrying out currently between Iran and between the Zionist Israel and America, you follow social media, you will see there's also a propaganda battle. Everybody trying to every negative situation they're trying to spin in a positive way, etc. So like that also in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you would have like the media war. That's why they say when a war breaks out, the first casualty of the war is what? It is the truth. It is the truth. That's the first casualty. So that's why if you study the hadith, they would also have their poets would say negative things about the Muslims, and on the contrary, Nabi Sallallahu had his poet Hassan bin Sabit, etc. And his other poets would counter their negative poetry, etc. So this person was famed for this. And obviously, this negative poetry, etc., etc., it hurt Nabi Sallallahu a lot. You say a lot of negative things. Hence, Nabi Sallallahu asked Abdullah ibn Atiq that who will relieve me? Who will relieve me from this person that is saying all these negative things about me? So it's mentioned from other hadith and from the history books. In Sirat Mustafa, also all the details is there that he managed to gain entry into the castle of the space of this person, and he managed to even get the keys. I remember the story, but I can't remember under what pretext. He came, I think he came as a visitor or something, and then like this, he managed to get overpower the guard, and he got the keys from him, and then eventually he managed to kill him. But when he was returning in his haste, then he stumbled over some stairs, and he broke either his shin or whatever. And then the relevance of this hadith with the chapter is the miracle that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to cure him. Okay, there's some input here. We got. I told you he entered some under some pretext. Say he was. He needed a place for ablution or something like that, according to what our one student is putting here. That's how we got in. Jazakallah for that. But nevertheless, the main thing is here, he managed to kill this person, and the miracle, the relevance of the Bab is this, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cured him. Now, there's another, although this is not the main subject, the thrust of this discussion here, the main thing here is to show the miracle of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But there's something else which I want to draw your attention to. That from this hadith, and there's another hadith of where also Nabi Sallallahu ordered the execution of another Jew, Ka'ab ibn Ashraf. Now, when you go to Medina, and normally you go for the ziyaras outside Medina, they show you where his residence was, where his abode was, etc. From this, we learn something very interesting, and that is the masla of somebody who blasphemes and abuses the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anybody who says negative things, he is wajibul qatl. Now, obviously, we know that the hudud and the qisas, etc., can only be um, implemented under in a Muslim country under the Muslim Khalifa, etc. If here today somebody comes and he says something negative of Rasulullah, or even in a Muslim country for that sense, maybe somebody says something negative, you can't take the laws in your own hand, like how the hudud, the qisas, the lashing for consumption of alcohol, etc., etc. So there's a whole book written on this subject. It's called As-Sayful Maslul fi Sabbir Rasul, that the unsheathed sword for those people who verbally abuse Rasulullah. So the crux, the essence of this is in a Muslim country, when you got a Khalifa, and if somebody says anything negative about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then he is wajibul qatl. He will be killed. And these type of hadith, where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ordered the execution of those people who verbally abused him, form the basis of this masla. Are you with me? So the book is, I think the author is Ibn Taymiyyah, As-Sayf al-Maslul في حكم من سب الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. Anyway, read the next hadith, inshallah. But anyway, the main thing is, the relevance is how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam instantaneously cured this person from his uh, broken leg. Bismillah. Right. Carry on. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن جابر, narrated on the authority of Jabir, قال إن يوم الخندق. So يوم الخندق here is, you got the right page, ne? يوم الخندق is the ظرف المكان. Oh, sorry, ظرف الزمان. So you got the right page here. It is the ظرف when this happened. We on the day of Khandak, نحفر, we were digging. فأرضت Kudyatun shadidatun. You got kudyatun shadidah. A big rock presented itself. In other words, it came in the way. فَجَاءُ النَّبِيَّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. They came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, said, Ya Rasulullah, we are digging the trench for the protection of Medina, right? But now we've hit a hard rock, right? فَقَالُوا هَذِهِ كُدْيَةٌ أَرَضَتْ فِي الْخَنْدَقِ. This is a rock that has come here in the Khandaq, and we are unable to break it. We are unable to remove it. Carry on. Right. فقال أنا نازل رسول الله. So don't worry, I will come down and sort of. ثم قام, he stood up. وبطنه معصوب بحجر, whilst Nabi Sallallahu stomach was bandaged with a rock. Carry on. Subhanallah. ولبثنا 3 أيام لا نذوق ذواقا. Whilst we were waiting for 3 days, we spent 3 days. لا نذوق, we didn't taste anything. Subhanallah. Carry on. Right. So imagine after 3 days of hunger, Nabi stood up and he went. فأخذ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المئولة. Nabi took the pick, right? فضرب, and he beat it, this rock. فعاد كثيبا, right? It became what? Ahyal. It became like pulverized what? Dust. The whole rock pulverized, it powderized, right? Carry on. So remember, they were on the outskirts of Medina Munawwara, right? Kathiba Ahyal. فانكفأت إلى امرأتي. Then I went to my wife. فقلت, I said, هل عندك شيء? Is there anything by you? Right? هل عندك, you do you have anything that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam not eat for so many days, right? Carry on. Right. So he says, I saw Rasulullah khamsan, fi makhmasa, severe hunger, right? Carry on. Right. So فأخرجت جرابا فيه صاع من شعير. Then she says, I removed a jiraban. Sorry, she took out a sack. فيه, in it was, صاع is a measure, right? It is about, you say to about 2.3 kilos or something, right? In it was so the sack was a sa'a from wheat, right? Carry on. ولنا بهمة داجن. And also we had a young kid, a goat, right? Page. Just check the right page. Right, so he's saying, فذبحتها, the Sahabi saying, then I slaughtered it. وطحنت الشعيرة, and then she, طحنة means to grind. She mulled the sweet, right? حتى جعلنا اللحم في البرمة, until we made like a meat in some type of gravy, right? Right. So then after this, I went to Nabi Sallallahu. I spoke to him quietly. فَسَارَرْتُ فَقُلْتُ يَا رَسُولَ ذَبَحْنَا بُهَيْمَةً لَنَا. We slaughtered a young kid. Right. وَطَحَنَتْ صَاعَةً. And she, يعني my wife, she mulled one a saw of wheat for you. فَتَعَالَ. Ta'ala is, remember we told us Allah is asma'ul af'al, those words that is comes in the structure is of a noun, but it has a fair meaning. So come means right? Ta'ala anta wa nafaru ma'aka, you and a little group come with you, right? Carry on. Right, right. أنت ونفر معك فصاح النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Nabi Sallam screamed, announced to Sahaba Ikram, Ya Ahl al-Khandaki, O people of the trench, Inna Jabiran Sana'a Suran. Fahayya halla, he's made, prepared something to eat. Fahayya halla bikum, come. Hayya halla is also, I told you, Asma'ul Af'al. Those words, it have the form of a noun, but it is a meaning of affair, right? Carry on. لا تنزلن برمتكم ولا تخبزن عجينتكم, right? حتى أجيء, right? Do not tunzila, serve this thing, this goat, this meat, and do not uh, bake the flour, right? The flour is it حتى أجيء, until I come, right? Right? وجاء, then she said she came. فأخرجت له أجينا, then I removed the what? The ajinan, the dough for him, right? فبصق فيه, he put some saliva in. وبارك, then he made dua for barakah, special, right? Carry on. Then he went to the meat, right? فبصق, he also put up his saliva in. وبارك, and he also made special dua for barakah. ثم قال ادعي, يبقى جابزة. What you got there, Mike? But smash what you got? Huh? Hobbies and call the person that will need the dough, right? فلتخبز معك, she must now knead it with you. وقدحي من برمتك, and then place in the pot from the sheep, the goat, the meat, right? ولا تنزليها, but do not serve it as yet. Right? He says, وهم ألف, we were over 1,000 on that day. Right. So the Sahabi say, Wahum alfun. I take a qasam that they were, that the people that came, they were 1,000. فأقسم بالله, I take a qasam that la akalu hatta taraku. They ate until they left it. One harafu, and they turned to go back to the khandak, right? وَإِنَّ بُرْمَتَهَا لَتَغِطُّ. And this flesh and the meat of this, right? لَتَغِطُّ كَمَا. It remained as it was. وَإِنَّ عَجِينَتَهَا لَيُغْبَزْ. And the flour like that was how it was cooked. Kama exactly it was. That was everybody ate, and it remained exactly the same. So that was the miracle of it. Okay, so we just done the translation. I see the time is up. So the Islam explanation there, inshallah. We'll do that explanation tomorrow, inshallah. Now we're going to switch over to the tafsir, inshallah.